Welcome back to Fair's Fair! Today I'm taking an idea from the comments. I know that seems desperate, but I swear I'm not running out of ideas. I genuinely thought it was a good idea. It'll be at least 3 more videos before I upload someone else's content while I eat cereal or just leave the room for most of it. In fact, I know what my next 2 videos will be, and they're both far more in line with my media content. So, look forward to that. But today I'll be talking about the payment processor censorship of games. You know, the thing that they said they didn't do and don't have any policy for. Apparently forgetting that their terms of service are public. It bothers me thinking that their PR lead probably makes more than me. So, short and sweet. It bad. The idea that a payment processor has any say in what legal goods and services you purchase is frightening, to say the least. The world is online whether you like it or not. The ability to spend your money has to extend online. If the payment processors can control what you buy online, then they have control over how you interact with the modern world. This is an amount of power that should not belong to a company, or a collection of very few that happen to all do the same thing at the same time anyway. Let's dig a little deeper on the topic, shall we? You all know the story. Visa and MasterCard pressured Steam to remove porn games containing rape and incest, while hiding behind their meat shield, the feminist group Collective Shout. I think more people need to focus here. Collective Shout is a shield. If you think that the card companies care about Collective Shout's ideals, then you probably think that Sony really supports Pride just because they made their profile a rainbow for Pride Month. In the countries that wouldn't hurt their income too much, that is. Real big of them to stand up for the LGBT+, only in countries where it isn't illegal. Gotta keep that market share after all. But no. Collective Shout is a convenient shield to put out in front while the companies check to see how much power they can claim before the public mauls someone. Then they let the shield get mauled while they pull back. Luckily, a lot of people aren't taking the bait. People know the payment processors only care about what power they can carve out for themselves. If the top 3 all agree to only trust the companies that share their shareholders, then they own the market. In theory, this can no longer be done in the US, as there was an executive order that says the payment processors can't block a lawful purchase. We'll see how well that works when implemented, and we'll see how well they adhere to this. Or if it becomes a game of whack-a-mole, them ripping people's livelihood out from under them until called on it, then reinstating over and over again until business becomes hard to maintain. Depending on how it's handled, that could Streisand effect even more power to the victim. So we'll see how effective that legislation turns out to be in the end. I hope for the best, but I'll keep my eye out. This is big news now, but they've been doing this for a while. The game No Mercy was pulled from Steam a while ago. The website Cuddly Octopus had to hide 18+ versions of several products, such as those featuring the VTuber Gargura. They still offer them, and people can email them to find out how to see or purchase them, but they've all been unlisted and confirmed in an email that payment processors were the reason why. That was years ago. After checking, modern uploads are also censored still. Pixiv limits what can be viewed due to pressure from payment processors. I can't find the name anymore, but a furry website was taken down entirely, at least as far as I heard. Many would be forgiven for not knowing this. I hadn't heard of even half of this stuff, and a lot of it I kind of wish I hadn't had to. But it's part of the story, and it's censorship that's still in effect to this day. So nothing is won until that changes. I say this again, if you are against this censorship, then nothing is won so long as they are still censoring things. Getting them to slow down is not victory. You need them to go back. If you accept them stopping after moving forward as a victory, then you will very quickly find yourself with a pile of victory ribbons and no ground left to stand on. Nothing bad has particularly affected me, though. Maybe none of you either. That's not a good reason not to care, of course. So let's talk about some of the advocates. Some people who have taken leave of their senses said, "But I no like lollies or incest drawing, so it good." Well, my sweet lobotomized summer child, these things never stop at the stuff you don't like. They moved up to all not safe for work content on itch.io. No one's making you buy those things. They all exist in fiction. I'm not here to argue legal lines, but the fringe interests may well be the canary in the coal mine. Letting this be done as a power play just because it doesn't affect you isn't a winning strategy. It sets a precedent for when it does affect you. I also don't think it's a card company's jurisdiction to play moral authority, especially when morals are clearly not why they're doing it. Forward to other advocates, let's not ignore the collective disgrace in the room. As far as moral busybody excuses go, oh boy, is Collective Shout a shit show. First, they're Australian. Bad enough, I know. That country still hasn't gotten the idea that fiction doesn't affect reality. Can't have mortal combat over there. The people might start ripping each other's spines out. I know last time I played Cyberpunk, I welded swords into my real-life arms and started double jumping. I swear to God, this argument never seems to die. They got a huge COD player base in Ecuador. Is Brazil's murder rate flying past the US due to the Battlefield franchise? Please don't get political about these places in the comments. My point isn't about what is causing those things. It's about how violent media isn't. It's been plainly ridiculous for over a decade. Collective Shout has gorilla gripped on that topic and won't let go, citing studies that vary wildly in their attempt to prove correlation, selectively quoting them too, or only got consistent correlation when exposing these things to adolescents. Which I will remind both you and several very creatively camera-angled Twitch streamers, adolescents are not the target audience for porn. Gotta be careful I don't suggest that parents be a fucking parent or I could get in trouble with them on the internet. Anyway, this might be the most confused women's activists I've ever seen in my life. They wanted to ban Detroit Become Human due to it depicting abuse. Now, those of you who have played that game, or watched a playthrough of it, you know exactly what they're talking about. The abusive guy whose deplorable behavior drives the android to rebel and take the little girl out of the situation. That's right. The abuse that is clearly shown as a very bad thing is what they want it banned over. So, what? Bad things can't happen in fiction? The anti-abuse group wants to cancel the anti-abuse game because of the abuse it portrays as bad?
But wait! There's more!
Hold on to your ass here. You won't believe this. You couldn't possibly have seen this coming, because no one could have seen this next part coming. If you don't already know about them, pause, go down to the comments, and guess what horror I have to tell about Collective Shout. This is so bizarre and backwards that I know none of you will guess it unless you have already learned about them. Them, and many of their upper echelon, the anti-abuse of women and children group, who wanted to cancel Detroit Become Human for portraying abuse, even negatively, they are determined defenders of the Netflix original movie Cuties. You can't make this shit up. What bizarro world is this? Cuties? Netflix's softcore child porn movie? This just gets better and better too. The reason they stan Cuties, they say it's okay because the movie's intent is to portray it in a negative light, which is what Detroit Become Human was doing. But the video game managed to do it without sexually abusing children. It's baffling that people still use this defense for Cuties. From Sneeko to Collective Shout. Talk about a binary. Allow me to explain why this is a stupid argument in quick and simple terms. If I want to make a movie about how murder is bad, it defeats the purpose if I actually murder someone to make it. They chose not to do any number of more moral options. They could have hired older actresses that looked young. They could have animated it so no real children were harmed. The lolicons are morally high-grounding, you morons, and they are completely in the right. Because their shit doesn't require anyone to be hurt to make it. They attack the lolicons while supporting Cuties. If this was a movie, I would complain about these characters being moral nonsense. Maybe I have too high of expectations for people. In short, the payment processors don't care about your morals. Nothing is fixed until the censorship is reversed and the threats to remove support stop. It's also not within their right to pass that judgment. And Collective Shout should check for a gas leak because those people have lost the plot for the trees they hallucinated in the dark of the state-required helmet that they put on backwards. I know this isn't my usual content. I will be returning to that immediately. You don't have to agree with me on this, as it's more of an autopsy of the situation, but if you like my media content, then this will have no bearing on it. I reworded this rather carefully to avoid getting political. The connection is inevitable though, so I will just simply avoid political comments, as it's not what this channel is about. When it comes to media and censorship, as Robert Heinlein once said, the whole principle of censorship is wrong. It's like demanding that grown men live on skim milk because the baby can't eat steak. Let me know in the comments as you like, comment, subscribe, follow, feed the algorithm. Do you agree? Why? Why not? Is there an important angle that I've missed, or additional information that you would like to volunteer? If you're here to argue for Collective Shout, then you're delusional and there's a demon in your skin, you should rip it off. If you're just here to yell at me about my assumed politics, or call me the ismophobia of the week, then you can go down to the comments as well, so long as you're entertainingly angry.